Hey, welcome to another awkwardly awesome podcast, fan favorite. I'm your host, Jason Freeman, and or maybe you don't know, but it's challenging being a professional speaker with a speech impediment and doing a podcast, and everything I do is challenging. And also joyful. Anyway, my point is that I don't have more challenges than the average person. We all have challenges, which is why why we need people like Tom Clute to remind us that we matter greatly, that what we are doing is worth the effort, that we are free to choose challenges, to struggle, to be resilient, and try again. And he walks his talk. I'm continually inspired by him. Please enjoy his episode. Thanks.
Today's guest, Tom Clute.
Hey, Tom, how are you today?
Good, Jason. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
It's been a journey to get on your docket list. You're so busy
Mm,
in a wonderful way, serving the world. Awkwardly awesome. I'm really grateful to be here.
I'm very honored to have you. Well, why is it important to you that we all realize that we matter greatly?
Okay, repeat the question one more time, please, Jason. Why is it important to me that
That we realize we matter greatly.
That's a beautiful question. Well, you gotta breathe into that. The first thought or reflection is that sometimes we don't know that we matter, let alone matter greatly. I think so I think it just depends on the environment. But I'll try and keep my answer simple. Why is it important? Because we're able to fulfill our potential that way, or at least move along the journey of our potential, which for most of us is a mystery to us. And we have to have lots of experiences and trials, as well as challenges and victories to begin to get a sense of who who we are, who I am, and who we are. And mattering greatly to me includes learning that I'm not alone, and it's okay to ask for help, and it's also okay to fail. It's okay to succeed, but more important, to have the opportunity and the privilege, or to create the opportunity for self and others to take massive action, as one author, Tony Robbins, talks about. So let me see if I can chuck that down one more time. It's important because it helps you feel like a winner. It helps us to experience that, not just feel it or read about it or think about it, but actually doing it. And it can be messy. And so we're an artist at heart, and the courage to, so when we move into our creativity, then we're moving into the unknown, but we're also in the present moment that way. And in the present moment uh, is a journey. It's a journey of trust with the invisible realm that Brian Tracy said, as a quote that says, act boldly and unseen forces will come to your aid. He repeated that. He says, act boldly and unseen forces will come to your aid. That was a long answer. Long answer. Thank you for your patience.
So, thanks. As you mentioned this, I realize that so often so much comes in the way of us realizing we matter greatly, of us feeling like winners, and of us taking massive action.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to be with you here in this show because that you're drawing me into your circle of care and influence, and you're mattering greatly to yourself, and that sends out waves of blessing and invitation to others, including myself. And you're being a mentor, and I really acknowledge you and thank you for that.
Mm. Thanks so much for being on.
Welcome.
How how does how can realizing that we matter greatly be an adventure?
Wow, yes, those are excellent questions. How does having the experience of mattering repeat your question, please? It's such a rich question.
How can the journey towards realizing we matter greatly, the journey towards that be an adventure rather than something we feel we have to do, like I have to learn to have self-esteem, I have to be more confident.
Well, I know Jack Canfield with Mark Victor Hansen shares in their books that if there's only one thing that you can do to change your life is to change your habitual reference group. Surround yourself with the people that you aspire to and admire and want to emulate. And another Mike Murdoch, I think, something like that, said, "Pay any price to stay in the presence of extraordinary people." And so, go ahead. You had a response there.
I like it. Pay any price to be in the presence of extraordinary people.
I think it comes to the feeling when I begin to well, yeah, when I begin to oh, I lost that thought. Okay, let's go back to parenting or your caregivers when you're young, whether you build bonding and attachment or whether it was separation. The E Eric Erickson's 8 stages of development, the first one is trust versus mistrust. And
Mm,
most of us in life have experienced at least some mistrust.
mm,
Very few of us have experienced less than 10%, but some of us have wave after wave after wave of turning our boats upside down
mm,
as hard as we try. So, but
mm,
I think so. I've answered the question from staying in the presence of extraordinary people. That's been difficult for me, and it's been I've taken a trek here to New Mexico, to Taos, New Mexico, just a couple hours away, and it's a spiritual pilgrimage for me to invite other veterans. That's my focus to come and be immersed in blessing energy. I didn't know that would come out. Be immersed, invite
mm,
themselves to immerse in blessing energy,
mm.
peacefulness and forgiveness, and also challenge. And taking a look at our story and ask ourselves, does that really define who I am today? Or am I carrying a lot of programs that repeat themselves in my mind? And where is my heart in all of this? How do I learn to trust my heart, which is sensitive and yet wild?
Sensitive and yet wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, none of this stuff would come out without your help, Jason.
Wow, wow, wow. So, so you're helping veterans who so often have unfortunately experienced the opposite of peace and the opposite of feeling like they matter greatly. You're helping them like you're not just talking about a new perspective with them. You're helping them experience a new kind of way of being.
Yes. And I think in a group environment where they can come together and form circles of caring, circles of sharing, then then we can replicate that painful loss of not the feeling of not mattering, and we can begin to trust each other and eventually trust ourselves. And I think that's what the idea of a 12-step group or support group of any kind has that element of belonging, mattering, and most important, I think, is connecting, having the intention and backed by action to connect. And I was going to share with you that that was a huge blessing for me when I was a nursing student, which I dropped out of because of depression. And it was not the right career for me. I was more of a teacher, but there's a counselor there at the nurses' health center that he says, "You're a veteran. If you have any, if you feel like you need some help, you can go to the VA." I never heard of the VA. I didn't know what it was. So, but I did. I followed up, and I was right in between wanting to live and not wanting to live.
Mm,
And so that
mm,
was a conundrum. It was very painful, and it lasted several days before I got the courage to call the VA hospital, and they admitted me.
mm,
And I've been going in and out of the VA hospitals for a good 15, 20 years. And it's been my sanctuary in a way,
mm,
and it's not a sanctuary so much anymore, because I want a more peaceful, authentic environment and not so controlling. But it served well from where I was at, and so just having that counselor help me connect to the VA. I did the work, but he told me about it, and so also, well, I was gonna also say about medication that I think more choice and voice should be inviting the conversation about choice with our care. But anyway, so, the number 1 thing is connecting, I would say. Number 2 is taking action, and, in our I kinda lost the numbering system there, but, uh, I think we wanna remind ourselves that I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, "We're born for success, yet we're conditioned for failure."
we're born for success, but we're conditioned for failure.
Yeah, and I think that's really as retreats come in because they help invigorate and stimulate creativity and allow the release of letting go of what our mind thinks it tells us these certain messages, and we can learn to trust our hearts, which don't like to, our hearts, as I said, is sensitive and
Mm,
wild. So I think we talked about this before the show started about the 3 different roles of our self, which is parent, adult, and child.
mm.
This is by the book, I'm Okay, You're Okay. I haven't read the whole book, but at least I got those three roles and learned to incorporate those as a
De- Debbie, who's I'm going to be on her Find a podcast later today. I'm so excited. She says my sister was in the army and goes to the VA medical center. Thanks for your service.
That's so wonderful. It's so wonderful. Thank you. That was Debbie. Thank you, Debbie.
So when people reach a crisis point in life, the well, luckily you got information about the VA from the counselor, but just the information alone didn't get you to the VA. What you had to do was take the step of making a call. What thoughts would you give someone who's in a tough place and who has a call like that to make, but who's going back and forth about it?
Thank you, Jason. Really want to kind of breathe into that. I took a class called Emotional CPR, and they invite the helper to ask the person being helped what part of them still wants to be alive, that is innocent and doesn't deserve to die.
That's such a beautiful question. What part of them wants to still be alive?
And also the part that wants to die how can we meet your immediate need, just like CPR, while we surround you with support? And I would add the word blessing.
Mm.
That's a worldview shift
Mm.
like none other, you know. So I think it depends on the culture and the environment, but I think like peer support was invented by people who suffered from these things, and the different institutions, including the VA, have peer support. Or so I've called the veteran crisis line for over 10 years when I felt emotionally hurt, angry, depressed. I actually called back one time to thank them. I said, "Thank you so much. This is a
Mhm.
really good call." But I think
Mm.
that anyway, also getting in nature
Mm.
and but yeah, to make that step, how do you help yourself go from the idea stage eh, to the change? I remember well, I'm quite the theorist. So I got all these quotes, but there's you may know this too. There's the pre-contemplation, contemplation, and then action. And I don't know what the last one is, might be reflection or something. But pre-contemplation, kind of like smoking cigarettes, you really haven't thought about it too much. And then contemplation is you're at the retreat. And but anyway, but the number one thing is the therapeutic alliance. It doesn't matter what modality it is. We're human beings that are wonderful. We matter greatly, and sometimes we just don't know how to reach that place within us. And I think the most honest thing I can say is a lot of the time I don't know. When you come in the present moment, that's can't be scary until you get used to it and learn to come into the present and just pause and then ask, and the I think a number one question I would ask anyone, which is an inquiry and invitation for dialogue, is does the is the universe a living universe? Is it alive? And does it matter? How do I matter? Is this a living universe? A living universe would be one that just like the attachment, it would have empathy and caring. Now, New Zealand, a couple of years ago or whatever, they banned rats and mice from testing for makeup products. And so the legislation, they changed it because they proved that mice and rats and sentient animals, they are sentient beings. And so they banned that because it's not okay. It's unethical to put people through suffering for the benefit of getting feedback. The same thing I heard in the NPR about abortion. The whoever makes those, they overturn the Supreme Court overturn any about abortion is they prove that I think up to 12 weeks or something, but it doesn't take long to prove that the fetus can feel pain and torture. So that's like a wake up call, and to force people to not have the option to choose anyway. So I just heard about that, but yeah, it's so wonderful when you do have the chance to ex to notice, and then if you have the wherewithal to ask, "Well, what works for you?" That's what you're doing here with me, and what's
Mhm.
worked for you, and even though I've had things that have worked for me, and I've been very blessed and privileged to be
Mhm.
guided, I'm not trying to say the VA is the authority. That's the most important thing for me is to come to your awareness that you are the authority. You have the sovereignty from your creator, from our creator. And the phrase that came through for me was when we were created, the creator says, "Go be you. Go be
Will
you."
be you.
Yeah.
That's why we were created, at least that's why we were all created in unique bodies, probably.
Yeah. So our soul, which is part of God, can experience through our own life, the life that we're living in that contributes to the whole. This is all a mystery. Somehow we're the archaic belief system with some scientists that there's no life in the universe, but we're a learning planet. That's how
We're a learning planet.
a learning planet.
Wow, I've never heard that. That's so cool.
Thank
Say
you.
more
Yeah.
about that.
Well, someone was showing me today actually a picture of it looks like stars, but lo and behold, they're galaxies. I think it's over
Oh my
6
God.
billion galaxies.
Oh my
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It just overwhelms your whole being with worship
Mm.
and humility. Eh, So I think well, there's someone that said, "Stay out of stay out of shark infested waters and stick with your tribe." That's part of our journey is to find our tribe. So you and I are a tribe.
Mm.
We're sharing with tribe. That's important, and that helps us stay safe as well as beyond our being on our adventure. I'll pause from there. I can go on and on too much, so I'm just pausing.
So you you took the you were feeling miserable and you took this counselor's advice and luckily called the VA. How did you get from that point in your life, that that deep pain in your life to where you are today, where you talk about worship and blessing and community and mattering greatly? I mean, that's a transformation, Tom.
Wow, thank you for showing that.
That's a transformation. That's as good as it get. It's really good to be able to like talk about a vast quality of life improvement.
You know, here's the magic that seems to move me from apathy to empathy.
Here's the magic that seems to move me from apathy to empathy.
That just came
Yeah,
out in your awesome presence, man. I gotta give it to you. High five.
high five.
Yeah. And that is to practice the mindfulness that we're all connected and we all matter because we're all one being. And we our scientific community, our medical system, our educational system, we're all in a learning journey and we have each other.
Mm,
And to remind ourselves, I'm not alone because I belong. And I'm going to go out and see if I can encourage someone else today and wish them a better day. You know,
mm,
during a spiritual pilgrimage I had, there was a woman that was walking down the street and she was having a cigarette and I just said hi to her and I said, "Can I pray for you?" So I just felt that, and I was definitely on a high energy wave there, but somehow God helped me be an instrument there just for a moment. And I have some olive oil too. So we talk about anointing that in the Old Testament, it was, I forgot who anointed Abraham, but it was really special and important. So I think anointing, blessing, acknowledgement. And the other theme here is that in our environment, we can learn to be sensitive to our words and be kind to ourselves. So I've invented
mm.
kindness soup. I could use your help to spread the word on that. Kindness soup and
Kindness,
a heaping
kindness,
scoop. Go ahead.
kindness soup.
Kindness soup. I invented it, but it hasn't been shared very much. So a heaping scoop of kindness soup and a second heaping helping of kindness soup. So I I'm so grateful to be on this show because it helps get the energy out. And
Mm.
I didn't know how to do that, Jason.
So you offered the lady who had who was smoking kindness soup, And what was her response?
I was downtown Portland, Oregon. I was not on my medications for at least 2 weeks, and I went into this very high spiritual place where my ordinary reality was transformed into an experiential learning journey w- with God, you know, and it was no small thing. And, the thing about the medical system in our allopathic medicine is that we need to have blessing energy words to match a wellness informed healing journey rather than an illness informed
Mm.
model and lexicon, like we have the DSM for mental health. And the idea of mental health itself is a separation worldview. We are one.
Mm.
And that's really a big deal when we realize, oh, I'm a part of all that is. I'm not just an observer. I am the one in expression. And and intellectually we might balk at that and we might agree with it, but our bodies know. Our bodies are wise. Our cells, our whole body. So that's a learning journey I'm going through, and I don't need to preach, and that has been my experience in the last 2, 3, 5 years is being able to bring words to match the experience. Just like I said, from illness management to wellness lifestyle, and that's intentional living, and that takes time, practice, just like musician. And I'm tired of being by myself. This brings me on to community with you, Jason, and our listeners. So, I think maybe whatever a person can use in their blessing, I was going to not in their arsenal. That's an old fashioned word, warfare, but in their blessing bag. See, we're creating reality all the time.
A blessing bag. And who says that we can't do both traditional allopathic medicine and other wellness things and
Yes. I call that coexistence.
coexistence?
Yeah.
It takes courage. I mean, you talk about your journey confidently, and
I didn't
it,
know I would.
but it really takes courage to be on the journey you're on, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely does. I think as we build new neural networks from fresh actions, they embed a new reality for us that we can lean into and practice. And then before long, we follow our hearts. We still have a head, but through meditation. And I'm not the you know I have my weaknesses and things, but it's a journey. And I think unconditional positive regard. That's a phrase by what's his name? It's the founder of modern psychology.
Oh my gosh.
It's one of his books is called On Becoming a Person, and the other book is called A Way of Being. Oh, I almost have it, but we'll come back to it. But this unconditional positive support, I think, like if a person were an alcoholic, the number one thing they need to do, whether they're drunk or sober, is to get into community as rapidly as possible.
Hmm. And how often do we retreat when we're in pain and when we're embarrassed, when something like that happens? How often do we retreat and go into ourselves where you're saying getting into community? So I have a story real quick that ties into this discussion, I think.
Okay.
So I finally started speaking a little bit and was developing courage to be a speaker, but it was going slowly. And I still was dragging my disability around like a 10,000 pound weight. And then one day I remember vividly it was in my friend Ina Lucas's car, and she's like, Jason, your disability is a gift. And
Isn't that so wonderful? How'd that feel?
I mean, at first I was stunned because I hadn't thought of it. I'm like, what? What? No, it's not. But eventually, as I started taking more actions in that direction, like doing more speaking engagements, speaking up more, I began to realize the giftedness of who I was. I realized the giftedness through a change of perspective. One, but as you say, keep saying taking action too.
Yes. And well, I'm so glad that happened for you because it must have been a significant moment for you that it altered the course of your history to this point. Just that
Eh,
I I think that's what. Well, sorry, you were responding.
I'm just agreeing it did. And it can be something simple like that counselor told you. Have you heard of the VA, and that altered the course of your journey toward, towards healing and
It's so beautiful, and the VA is doing a lot of good. It's just, but it's a mystery because if we take action without knowing, because it's unfamiliar, then those experiences, if so, again, those experiences teach us lessons. If I really believe that life, and I can test out, practice mindfulness, observe, usually over time, do I really do I exist in a living cosmos? And what does that mean? So we're going to shift from pathology to blessing
Mm,
in every arena of our lives. And for me, I'm specializing in the vocabulary of blessing. And I didn't know that the word blessing would come out like this. But
mm,
it seems to me that if I don't know that I'm a blessing, then I'm going to act as if I didn't know because I don't know. But the
mm.
heart knows. Isn't this a mystery? It is okay if I quote a couple of scriptures. My dad's a preacher.
Oh, sure, sure.
Okay. Um, one of my favorite ones is Ephesians 3:20. And the reason I like it is because love it actually is because it helps us feel connected and loved by the universe.
Mm,
And it says, "Now unto him," and I would also use the word her or the mystery, but I'll just quote it the way it reads. Now unto him, that's by the way, the King James. Now
mm,
unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. So
mm,
there's that bridge, according to his power, the beautiful creator existing, being in all of its creation, which is a mystery, but that feeling of community with our creator, we're not alone, and the creator is inside of us, guiding us once we activate and choose from our hearts that it is so. We make a declaration. Declarations, I surrender. I love
mm,
myself. I surrender to this beauty that holds me and moves me.
mm,
Boy, thanks for helping me. Thanks for letting me share that. And then also in Jude, the salutation it's only one chapter, but it's a great chapter. Saint Jude shares with his audience again in King James. It says, "Now unto him that is able to do exceeding abundantly above all the." I think that's it. I think I was now I don't remember. Yes, I think that's it. Exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or imagine. Didn't I just say that?
yeah, and I love not just abundantly, but exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask for or imagine.
And I think that gives us courage
Mm.
to face the unknown and to know, just like Admiral Byrd in the snow, the one thing that saved him, according to that book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie, he realized, I am not alone. I don't know how I got to that realization, but it came to him.
Mm.
How about we do an affirmation right now?
Sounds great.
Okay. Do you have a favorite one, or you want me to start?
You can say.
Okay. Okay. So a real fundamental that I learned from a spiritual teacher on YouTube was transcribed by Archangel Michael, and he shared that, and is the affirmation I do with my friend pretty much every day. It's short and powerful. It is, I am that I am, and I love my life. We say that 3 times. Go ahead and follow me. We'll do it 2 more times. I am that I am,
I am that I am,
and I love my life.
and I love my life.
We'll do that 3 times, and then the second part is, we are that we are, and we love our lives.
We are that we are, and we love our lives.
Yes, and that's a mystery declaration because there's no boundaries or borders to that.
As I said those, I could feel they just felt good to say those affirmations. Felt really good. How often do we say things to ourselves that just don't feel good and don't fill us with joy?
I think if we can find all right. So sometimes, the chaplain said, sometimes faith can look like resting and trusting in the God that you're following.
Mm.
Paul Tillich
Mhm.
shares in his book, The Shaking of the Foundation. He was a theologian. He has a beautiful reading. It says, you are accepted by that which you do not know or have the name for. But simply rest in that acceptance and don't worry about doing, focus on acceptance.
You keep getting back to the unknown, how much in the universe in our lives is unknown, and becoming comfortable within the almost sacred uncertainty of our life.
Well, facing death, like the Vietnam veterans or anyone, I'm in a hospital cafeteria, but we move from thought to being through our hearts.
Mm.
And no matter how, always talking about the veterans, and I've experienced such misery in my life that at some point, and this is where transformation can happen, there's a crack in the shell, like the little baby bird in the egg.
Mm.
The light can come in and begin to nurture us.
Mm.
And even our death is sacred. It's still a part of all that is, and we don't need to run away from it.
Mm.
And we can also, though, to choose to not die until our time is up, which is really, I don't have much to say about that because I don't know. But it seems Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote that book about death and dying called, her final one was Death, the Final Stage of Growth. And also I realized,
Really, she called it the final stage of growth.
yeah,
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Speaking of a different perspective on death, that's a
it sure
different
is.
perspective.
What's that?
Speaking of different perspectives, that's
Yeah,
definitely a different perspective on death. The
it is.
final stage of growth.
I didn't know that the, that in the human develop in the field of human development, death is a part of that life cycle. I
Mm.
didn't know that. But that's really, uh, especially if we really can get hold of our language and our actions and our reference group, we learn to develop new habits, new patterns, new wellness-informed strategies and communities that we could say goodbye to this past version of ourselves and say, I'm ready to take the hand of the invisible so that I can experience mystery in every moment.
What has that been like for you lately, taking the hand of the invisible?
I've been learning more about humility, about how much duplicity and being not living up to my standards or the standards I think are right and feeling like a hypocrite, which I feel like probably I have. And I'm just realizing that my humanity is fallible and
Mhm.
fragile and yet courageous. So it's a real, if you wanted to have a roller coaster ride, I must have signed up for it. Uh, yeah, it's been rough, but the hospitals have been my safe haven for a long time, and now I realize I have a choice. I don't have to go to the psych unit anymore. I may if I need to, but I'm learning some strategies and also this honoring space, self-esteem, essential enoughness. I like that. Essential enough.
Essential enoughness.
Yeah. I live in Enoughville. You wanna come over and visit? You wanna
Mm.
join?
Yeah, yeah, enough sounds very great, very great. So in my work, I talk about speaking of fallibility, I talk about the power of doing our imperfect best. And what it means to me is we envision the best we want to create with our lives. And then when mistakes and hard circumstances come up as they will, instead of being stopped by them and feeling totally isolated,
Yeah.
we inquire them, what can I learn from this? How can I develop community around this and keep moving towards the best that's in our hearts? What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Major Tom Clute?
Major Tom, the massive encourager. I just had a thought about that. It says, Major Tom, a massive encourager, needs major encouragement right now. And you fill up and then go serve others, at the cycle. But go ahead and repeat your question again, please. It's so powerful.
So what does doing your imperfect best mean to you?
Uh, the feeling of enoughness yet challenge.
The
And
feeling of enoughness yet challenging. Gosh, beautiful. That's beautiful.
oh, thank you.
Okay.
I think being around people that, you know, this is just coming out, okay? For me, I might need to realize that my environment where I grew up from and my like family, they may not be the best role models. For example, I'm on your show right now. Well, I prefer, there's no disrespect, but the lineages of our past ancestors, they did the best they could,
Mm,
or we could only hope.
mm,
But
mm,
to move from where we came from to our possible selves, just like Abraham of Ur was called into the unknown, Abram. That was a spiritual pilgrimage for him. I would
mm.
say, okay, I want to really give this. So please repeat your question one more time about how does that relate to imperfect best? We already said it. Is that, do you feel like I've answered that adequately, or did you want me to share something else?
Oh, oh, a new question. How does the idea of imperfect best have to do with the human journey that we're on at this moment?
I think that I feel strongly that it affirms doing our imperfect best. We shift from external standards to internal standards.
Mm.
And we have to live with standards in our society and things, but there's this wonderfulness in my heart and courage. Oh my, your question is so rich and deep and wide. It, it's it's not possible to answer it in one sentence. It probably is. I just don't know what it is yet. What is it for you, Jason?
Thanks for throwing it back. You talked some at the beginning about realizing potential, realizing we matter greatly, growing and for me the imperfect best journey is about going on the quest and when detours come up, noticing the detours and honoring them for what they have to teach us, but not being stopped by them. It's about like you so beautifully said when you needed to. Your imperfect best journey was about making that first call to the VA when I needed to, Ina was there to say, Jason, your disability is a gift. Move forward and do great things instead of living in shame and regret. And
Yeah,
so the imperfect best journey is definitely not a journey we take by ourselves. It's about community, as you are saying.
I've experienced community in an unusual way. My passion was so high, and so deep that when I got this impulse a year and a half ago, I went to New Mexico, Taos. I got to the point where I developed a confidence in asking people for a gift of gas, of whatever amount they'd like to share.
Mm,
And I would say about 1 out of 9, 1 out of 8 or 9 would
mm,
give $5 or whatever.
mm,
Dollars. So what I give you? I put the car by the gas pump so they know I'm not kidding, and the car's right there, so it's like that their money is being well used. So now I'm at the
mm,
next step. I say, okay, I'm tired of getting. I did that so far some of the time for gas out here again in New Mexico. And
mm,
Stuart Wilde, that was his spiritual, and so I'm returning to that. But we can do things when we're passionate enough. We come together and collaborate, and
mm,
asking is a gift.
mm,
Asking is a gift, or it can be a gift. I'm
mm.
still learning. Did you want to respond to that?
And to the right person, you're asking for a gift might have made the day. Like they may have been, oh gosh, Tom asked me for gas. I'm able to contribute to another person today. I know I matter because I can contribute, and that feels good.
That's beautiful, and that's what John Maxwell teaches in being a significant entrepreneur. That he said, if you're self-centered, that is not significance. You have to give beyond yourself. But I so that was just an example, but it was a solid one because it was a step. It is a step until I learn how to, which I choose to learn, how to apply for for artist grants and business foundations and into the philanthropy industry and put my share my dream. And I'm not just dreaming about it. I'm driving out here. I didn't have my ducks in a row, but my passion was so high. That must be soul. That has to be soul because it's beyond everything I've ever done. And I think that's the confidence. And so I think that comes over time. And I think that's why the veterans have such a hard time adjusting, some of them. I could say a lot of them because they lose so much. They come into the family of the military, and that's a home away becomes their life. And then to be able to recreate that in a civilian world, that's where we help each other by saying, "Hey, it takes the strength of a warrior to ask for help. It takes the courage of a warrior to ask for help." And we've been conditioned in society to say, Okay, but you're stepping up and asking. You're 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 not only helping yourself, but you're being a role model. And anyway, I forgot what I was going to say, but it's a gift. It's a gift to ask. So wow, this is good stuff. And just to
Uh,
practice it. Go ahead.
I'm just getting this as that you doing the simple thing, asking for gas when you need it may give those people the courage to ask for help when they really need it, instead of isolating themselves and getting into a dangerous a dangerous situation. You're asking for gas. Looked at it that way, it could save someone's life. Holy cow.
I didn't quite follow that about saving someone's life.
So you're asking for gas might give the person you're asking the courage to ask for help when they need it. And if they have the courage to ask for help when they need it, that could save their life.
Oh, so I'm living as a role model to them so they can practice that themselves. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I've never looked at it quite that way. That is just coming out, but isn't that a different way of looking at it?
I wanted to share, Jason, really crucial is a book called Crucial Conversations. It's by 4 authors. And I look forward to getting into that. But what was I going to say now? Oh, there's a book called Purpose, something about purpose. Oh, The Purpose Driven Life. And also on mission. The thing that the veterans miss out on is the mission when they get back to civilian life,
Mm,
unless they have a coach and a community or in some way that network of support
mm,
for somehow for them to in some way recreate that tenderness and toughness at the same time and just
mm,
courage in general.
mm,
But that meaning, having infusing meaning again in a meaningful way that is mattering greatly. Now we're taking
mm,
responsibility. We're bringing ourselves to the well or to the creek or a horse or something. But we learn to nourish
mm,
ourselves.
mm,
That's a big deal. I mean, it's like I didn't know any better. I just went to the hospital. That's all I knew.
mm,
It's still all I know to a large extent, and I'm
mm,
growing. But I'm
mm,
stumbling down, looking,
mm,
learning, learning to
mm,
imagine forward, and all this stumbling and things. Well, that's what a baby and a toddler does. Oh yeah, that reminds me of the
mm,
Buddhist. He says, "You, as much as anyone in the universe, deserve your love and attention."
hmm.
Yes, unconditional love.
So this also profound. So last question for you. What's the big vision of what you want to create with the rest of your life?
Thank you for asking. Well, in terms of my entire existence of my soul, it's from the Father's heart, seeking spiritually. And I believe deeply in the divine feminine also. Our divine mother carries us. But my number one mission is for every creature to fully sing their unique song in the orchestra of life.
Hmm.
And to kind of shrink
Hmm.
that down or chunk that down a little bit is for every child of the Creator to fulfill their purpose.
Hmm. For every child of the Creator to fulfill their purpose. Tom, thanks so much for your service. Thanks for the journey you've been on. Thanks for persisting. Thanks for all the goodness you help others see in their own life for themselves. Just thanks for being you. Many blessings on your journey to
Many
Taos.
blessings to you also. But thank you, Jason.
Oh, thanks. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I encourage you to get into conversations with the people around you and be curious about their perspectives, their wisdom, what they have to offer. I learned so much in the last hour and hope you did too.